Hello. So there's this, eternal debate, obviously, as to which songwriter in the Beatles was the most talented. And I mean, as great as George Harrison was, he's a brilliant songwriter. He had less of a chance to show what he could do in the Beatles. So generally, the question comes down to: Are you a Lennon kind of guy or a McCartney kind of guy? Now these days, I'm typically kind of more of a McCartney kind of guy, but I thought it might be an interesting experiment to go through all their records and to decide which Beatle won that album. Aka which Beatle contributed stronger material. And we'll keep track, and at the end, whoever wins is the best Beatle. And this is very scientific and indisputable, so don't even try. All right, first one. Please, please me. I listened to this again for the first time in a while recently, and it is a very strong debut. I think it has a lot of energy to it. It's fun. And let's see. I would say on this one, you got to go McCartney. I think because you have some strong stuff from Lennon. You have like "Ask Me Why" and uh, Misery. I mean, you have Twist and Shout, which is obviously it's a great vocal performance, but we're not looking at that. We're just looking at original compositions. Who created the best original compositions? And McCartney has "I Saw Her Standing There." McCartney has "Love Me Do," which they wrote together, but yeah, as you can see here, McCartney wrote the verse and chorus, and Lennon contributed to the middle eight. Lennon said "Love Me Do" is Paul's song. So yeah, that one we can credit to Paul. And one of the tricky things about this is going to be, you know, especially in the early days, they wrote together. So it can be hard to say what's a Paul song, what's a McCartney song, you know, and we'll never really know for sure who contributed what. But I'm gonna go off who's singing the lead vocals. I figure, with the exception of the songs the Ringo sang and some of the early ones that Harrison sang, whoever's singing it probably had more of a stake in the creation of that song. So Lennon, is more prominent on the title track, which is a fun one, yeah. But I think with "P.S. I Love You" and "Love Me Do" and "I Saw Her Standing There," got to go McCartney. So that's 1 point for McCartney. All right. Then we got "With the Beatles." And McCartney coming strong out the gate with "All My Loving." But really, nothing else that's like classic status. I mean, his version of "Till There Was You" is really pretty, but once again, it's a cover. Doesn't matter for this thought exercise. I would say this one is definitively Lennon. So that's 1-1. We're all tied up. And "A Hard Day's Night" is also going to have to go to Lennon. Because, I mean, McCartney contributed some really good stuff here. I mean, "And I Love Her," "Can't Buy Me Love," "Things We Said Today." It's fantastic stuff. And I almost went with McCartney on this one just because his batting average was so high. But, it's impossible to argue that this album isn't, dominated by Lennon, that it was really driven by him. So I would say that's a point in Lennon's favor. I thought I could keep this all in my head. That's not going to work. Let me open a little notepad document so I can keep track of this. Uh, let's see here. All right. So please, please me went to Paul. With the Beatles went to John, and now "A Hard Day's Night" is also going to John. All right. So let's see. Next we have "Beatles for Sale" here. And 8 days a week, again, is one of those ones where it's kind of tricky to figure out, is this more of a John song or a Paul song? Paul, has talked about having the inspiration for the song and kind of, coming up with the genesis of it. Um, but in terms of whether it was a complete collaboration or one of them had more influence over the track, yeah, it's really hard to say. So I think that one kind of has to be a wash. um so if we're looking outside that, I mean, the second most beloved song on here is probably "I'll Follow the Sun," which is a McCartney song. But Lennon has this, tons of strong stuff on here, like "No Reply" and "I'm a Loser," and I would say it's a more consistent record for Lennon, just in terms of overall quality. So I'm gonna say that "Beatles for Sale" also goes to John. So that's three Johns in a row, and you can tell that I'm being um, impartial here because, as I said before, more of a McCartney guy. Um, Now, this is the first one that I think is really, really difficult, where the two of them are basically evenly matched. I mean, in terms of just, level of quality. Because from Lennon, you've got all kinds of, you've got "Help," you got "Hide Your Love Away," you got "Ticket to Ride." But then, this run here from McCartney of "Tell Me What You See, I've Just Seen a Face Yesterday." I mean, that's some good stuff. That's a special run of songs right there on the B side. But overall, for the fourth time in a row, I think just for overall consistency, I got to go John here. So Paul's not doing so good right now, but we'll see if that's about to shift as we get to Rubber Soul. All right, so Rubber Soul, what are the most beloved Lennon songs? "Norwegian Wood," "Nowhere Man." "Nowhere Man" is probably my favorite song on the whole album. And I don't know. "In My Life" is a good one. I kind of imagine, John heard "Yesterday" and was kind of like, "I want a yesterday too," but he did a good job. Um, but I don't know. McCartney's strong on here too. I mean, "Drive My Car" is pretty fun, other than the beep beeps. I could go without the beep beeps. "You Won't See Me," "Michelle" is a great one. "I'm Looking Through You." I think overall, and taking into account that "Run for Your Life" is on here, which is not my favorite John Lennon song, I think McCartney wins Rubber Soul, in my opinion. But it's close. It's very close on that one. So right now, John has double McCartney's score. John has 4 albums. Paul has 2 albums. All right, now we get to Revolver. Now, I know that my favorite song on Revolver is "Tomorrow Never Knows," which is a Lennon song. And you also have, "She Said, She Said," "I'm Only Sleeping," "And Your Bird Can Sing." His contributions are great. But once again, I think I got to go with McCartney here. Eleanor Rigby, "Here, There, and Everywhere," just gorgeous for no one, gorgeous. I'm not a huge "Got to Get You Into My Life" guy, but it's not. It's certainly a fun song. It's just not totally my jam. But yeah, I think this one has to go to Paul. So now Paul still down by 1 album, and I think this is going to be my most controversial opinion, because everybody knows that, like, "Hard Day's Night" was John's album. Even more so, "Sergeant Pepper" is Paul's album. This was his concept, and he drove this. He wrote the huge majority of the songs. But that being said, when I look at this, there are some great Paul songs on here, like "Getting Better," and the title track, and "She's Leaving Home," really good stuff. But I would say the most enduring songs on the album for me are "Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds" and "A Day in the Life," which are both John Lennon songs. For me, none of the Paul songs on this album reach that level, and it also has one of my least favorites of his with When I'm 64. So this is controversial. People are gonna yell at me about this one, but I'm giving Sergeant Pepper to John. I'm sorry. That might seem crazy, but I'm giving Sergeant Pepper to John. All right. So let's see. 4, 5. John has 5. Paul has 3. Okay. Magical Mystery Tour. This one's also going to be difficult because just every song on here is so fantastic. I mean, especially on this B side here. But right off the bat with McCartney, you got a couple of fantastic ones with the title track and Fool on the Hill. You got Hello Goodbye. You got Penny Lane, which is definitely one of his greatest moments as a songwriter, if not his greatest. I mean that seems like a big thing to say, but it's up there. Um, but John is very strong on here too. I mean, he has I Am the Walrus, he has All You Need Is Love, and he has what might be my all-time favorite Lennon composition, Strawberry Fields Forever. So I think it's tight. It's a tight race, but if we're just counting great songs, it's pretty evenly matched. It's like Strawberry Fields, All You Need Is Love, I Am the Walrus, versus Hello Goodbye, Penny Lane, Fool on the Hill. But for me, I think the other tracks, I think Magical Mystery Tour and Your Mother Should Know, I personally enjoy them more than Lennon's deeper cuts on the album. So for me, I'm going with Paul on that one. Though once again, it is very, very close. Now, this one, the White Album, this is my favorite Beatles album. And trying to decide who won this is going to be very difficult, very intimidating to even think about. I think we should just go side by side, okay? And then at the end, we'll see who 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 has the most sides on their record. So, side one, we've got Back in the USSR and Obla Di Obla Da, which are both fun songs, but they're not like my ideal Paul songs. They're not favorites of mine. Whereas Lennon, you've got Dear Prudence, which is incredible. You got Glass Onion, which is a great one. You got Happiness is a Warm Gun, which I think is my single favorite Beatles song. So yeah, I mean, side one, I think, is an easy win for John. Side two, this is kind of the opposite. From John, we have two fantastic songs. We have I'm So Tired and Julia. But now McCartney's coming in with Martha My Dear and Blackbird and I Will. So it is pretty evenly matched. But I think I got to give the slight nod to McCartney there. Slight. It's close. I mean, I love I'm So Tired and Julia. Those are both incredible songs. All right. Now, side three, I think I also got to go McCartney here. Like Your Blues, not one of my favorite Lennon songs, and Everybody's Got Something to Hide and Sexy Sadie are both like they're both good rock songs. I enjoy them both, but for me, like Mother Nature's Son and Helter Skelter are both like they're classics. Mother Nature's Son is like a top 5 Beatles song for me probably. So I'm giving side 3 to Paul, and side 4 I think you got to go John. Really no choice there. Because honey pie, it is what it is. It's fine, but you have Lennon really dominating this one with Revolution One. Even though that's not my preferred version of Revolution, it's still a great song. It's just I don't know why they didn't put the single version on there. But and Cry Baby Cry and Good Night, which is sung by Ringo, but written by John. Um, and I've always loved Good Night. I don't think a lot of Beatles fans like that one, but it sounds like some song that would be playing in like a magical meadow where like the birds fly in and start, doing your hair and stuff. So I don't know. I like it, but the main issue with John winning this side is Revolution 9, which, is so annoying to me that I almost want to give it to McCartney out of spite, but I just can't. It's got to go to John. So that means we're tied again. Fuck. So yeah, we got two sides for Paul, two sides for John. You know what? I'm gonna put it down as a tie. It's a tie. I mean, okay. What are Lennon's great songs on here? Like his all timers, right? It's like Dear Prudence, absolutely. Happiness is a warm gun, yes. I'm so tired. Julia, and anything else? Well, Revolution. I would say Revolution is a great song, even though once again the caveat, it's not my preferred version. So I would say he has like five legitimately great songs on here. And then with McCartney, let's see, you have Martha, My Dear, I would say, Blackbird, um, I Will, Mother Nature's Son. God, it's so close. It's so close. You know what? I think John wins it by a hair. John wins it by a hair. I can't leave it at a tie because McCartney's songwriting on here is very beautiful, obviously, but I think John's material is maybe a little more diverse. Maybe it has a tiny bit more going on. It's hard to vote against such beautiful songs, but I'm giving it to John. Sorry. Um, All right, Yellow Submarine. We're not going to include. It's basically a glorified EP, and it's only 5 songs. All You Need Is Love was already on Magical Mystery Tour. If we were going to count this, I would probably give it to John because it's basically a fight between All Together Now. And no, there are 4 songs on here because Yellow Submarine was on Revolver. Yeah, so you get rid of the Harrison songs. It's basically between All Together Now and All You Need Is Love. And I like All Together Now less, but All You Need Is Love was like already on a record, but I guess it wasn't really on the record in the UK, only in the US. So I don't know. I guess John would win it because I like All You Need Is Love more, but we're not counting that. We're not counting that. That's dumb. All right. And then Abbey Road. I think you got to go Paul here. They're pretty evenly matched, right? Because, side A, you have one of my least favorite McCartney songs with Maxwell Silverhammer, and you got one of my least favorite Lennon songs with I Want You, She's So Heavy. But then you get to side 2, and you have Because by John, which is a beautiful song. But, Mean Mr. Mustard, Polythene Pam, they're fun. But, McCartney just dominates this side. And that final run of Golden Slumbers Carry That Way at the end is so incredible. I toyed around with giving this to Harrison because his 2 songs are so gorgeous. Here Comes the Sun and something. But no, Paul's got to take Abbey Road. No question for me. And then the final one is Let It Be. And this one is pretty easy for me too. Lennon has an all-timer, astoundingly great song on here, Across the Universe. But I would argue that that's really the only one he has. Dig a Pony is good, but I would say, Two of Us, Let It Be, Get Back, The Long and Winding Road. I think it's pretty definitively goes in Paul's favor. Now, Past Masters, we're not going to do either because it's a compilation. But if we were going to do it, let's just perform a thought experiment here. Volume 1, you got Love Me Do, which is kind of more of a Paul song. You have She Loves You, which is kind of more of a John song. I Want to Hold Your Hand is kind of more of a John song. This Boy is kind of more John. So I would say John wins volume 1. But then see right here. Okay, so we got for Lennon we got Day Tripper. It's a great one. We got Rain. We got the better version of Revolution. We got Don't Let Me Down, which is a really good one. Ballad of John and Yoko, which is a really good one. The alternate version of Across the Universe, which is really good. And then for Paul, we got We Can Work It Out, which is great. Paperback Writer, it's one of my absolute favorites. Lady Madonna, which is, it's a good song, but it's not really a huge favorite of mine. And then we got Hey Jude, which is kind of what throws this whole thing into chaos and disorder. Because, Hey Jude is just such an incredible song. Um, I mean, you also have Get Back and Let It Be on here. I don't know if I should count those in its favor since they were also on the Let It Be album. I don't know if I should. If I let that influence me, if those two songs count, then McCartney wins this. But I think without those songs, I would actually give it to Lennon probably. I don't know, but we're not counting it anyway, so that's fine. And okay, so now let's tally it up and see who's the best Beatle. All right, so Please Please Me, I gave that one to Paul. With the Beatles, I gave that one to John, so we're tied up. Hard Day's Night, I gave that one to John. John moves into the lead. Beatles for Sale goes to John. Help goes to John. Rubber Soul goes to Paul. Revolver goes to Paul. Sergeant Pepper goes to John, which I know it's gonna piss people off. It's okay. I have a bad opinion. It's fine. Magical Mystery Tour is going to Paul. The White Album going to John. Abbey Road is going to Paul. And Let It Be is going to Paul. So did this really happen? Okay. It's it's tied. It's 6 albums for each of them. So what did we learn? Um, they're equally good. In a competition like this, you'd like there to be a winner and a loser, just because it feeds that sick part of us that thrives on competition. But there's no winner here. They're both brilliant songwriters, both a couple of the best rock songwriters that ever lived, and at least as far as their work in the Beatles is concerned, they're equally good. That's it.